Open your mind. Prepare for the journey. For the next 60 minutes, you are going to be taken into other realities. Other worlds within our own, where real people have experienced visitors from the unknown. In the next hour, stay tuned to explore the amazing phenomenon of crop circles. Are these evidence that aliens are visiting Earth? No one has been able to solve this startling mystery. Then, relive the story of Trevor Ford and the ghosts of lost World War II airmen. And finally, a close encounter, a UFO experience that scientists and government officials admit is real.
What created this? We don't know. The creator, you could call God. You could call it E.T. We don't know. We have no idea who or what the creator is, but there's something very special going on. This cannot be created by nature as we understand nature to be. My name is Colin Andrews. This is my story, and it's real.
Meet Colin Andrews. Until recently, he was a senior officer and chief electrical engineer in West Hampshire. He had up to 400 people responsible to him in his job capacity. But something of such enormity happened that he quit his job and is risking everything to pursue phenomenal events that are unfolding. Events that may affect all of us someday. It all began for Colin in 1983 when he was on his way to a business meeting.
These markings immediately struck me as being not only symmetrical, but extremely unusual. I'd never seen anything like it before. I think many people would see these markings as sheer artistry. It's like a cosmic finger drawing pictures in the canvases of southern England.
In 1976, farmers began discovering simple circular formations. Less than 10 that year. In 1978, a quintuplet set was discovered, 5 circles forming a cross. From that time, the complexities of the circles began to evolve. And then in 1990, a new and staggering development appeared. Straight lines. Nature never creates a straight line.
Everything here depicts behavior. It depicts intelligence. And that means that there may well be a message. It is that message which we need to know.
This phenomenon is not happening in southern England alone. There have been reports of these pictograms in the snow in Scotland, fields of France, Switzerland, Germany, the ice fields of Russia, crops in Australia, and numerous sightings of the fields of Japan and Canada. In the U.S. alone, there were 20 reported cases this past year. The media took notice and the world began to pay attention. Observers from the public, the science community, and even the military increased. Crop circle watching practically became a spectator sport. Still, there were no answers, not even any clues. Skeptics believed it was a hoax. And when a couple of enterprising gentlemen came forward, the mystery appeared to be solved. These men never claimed responsibility for doing these complex pictograms, only the simple circles. Their crude attempts didn't even come close to the beauty and complexity of the mysterious crop circles. Their fame was short-lived, as the reasons for their actions soon became apparent.
Money. Because in England we have a reward on offer in American terms, of $25,000 if you can solve the problem of the crop circles. That was the second one this year. We had some in July claiming that they knew how it was done. So they weren't the only ones, but they just seemed to have a bit more publicity. As far as I'm concerned, there is no way they could have done it.
It's very strange. Once you've seen the genuine one and been involved with it, well, it's different. It's unexplainable. It really is strange.
The dimensions, the densities, and the complexity of these circles are evolving and increasing dramatically. We have now, just last year, we had reports in excess of 500 between May and September. This year already, we have 250 independent sites, and that probably, when we finish putting them into the computer, will exceed 1,500 actual events. And on average, they are arriving here now between 2 and 5 major aggregates each day. It would take an army of people to construct them.
My husband's family have farmed here for 103 years. And last year, we experienced our first taste of the crop circles quite early in the morning. And we saw it below the road in the fields. We had binoculars with us, went up on the hills and looked down on it, and realized that this was something pretty incredible. I can't tell you what they are. I can't even tell you what I think they are. I can tell you what I know they're not. I know they're not made by people.
I've farmed here since I was a boy, and I've never seen nothing like we saw when we had the circles.
These people know their land. They work their land. They know every square inch. They know their crops. They know their weather conditions. Each one has told me absolutely no way can this be caused by a weather condition such as whirlwinds or fertilizer burns or anything like that. They've seen it all. It's not possible. Most of these fields have been in the families for several generations. They know they're not hoaxes because of the fact that you can't get into the field without leaving a path.
As we walked through one of these pictograms in southern England, it became apparent there is presently no man or machine on Earth that could do this. These crops are not broken. They are bent, woven, and layered. The layer on top is whirling in a counterclockwise direction, whereas the layer underneath goes the opposite way. The sheer intricacy of the patterns points to a form of delicately controlled energy. What type of energy, no one knows. But there are astonishing residual effects left in the circles.
Many strange things occur with equipment in cornfields. Myself, I've experienced camera malfunctions. The still cameras won't work. I have known a case where a focal plane shutter bent up completely inside the camera for some reason. My video camera, which at the time was on the end of a 20-foot pole, I was doing a pan shot from left to right. For some reason, the magnetic sequence onto the tape failed to work. You have a clean tape, a lot of flashing. The soundtrack disappeared. That was digital, completely. BBC, they too have suffered the same fate with a new Betacam video camera, commercial one. They too suffered the same fate. Their camera malfunctioned and they could never ever get it to work again.
During a beautiful summer's day in 1987, I travelled to a place called Wantage in Oxfordshire to have a look closely at a circle surrounded by one concentric ring. And out of that ring came a small pathway pushing into the standing crop, at the end of which was a small area, a small depression, a cup-shaped, perfectly cup-shaped depression, out of which the soil had been removed and was nowhere to be seen. I removed from the bottom of the depression a soil sample and a small stone. I put this in a plastic bag and removed it. I took it back to my home in Andover, and I locked it in a room which was very well secured by 3 independent intruder alarm systems, one of which I designed myself and have a British patent for.
That morning at 4:15, one of his 3 sophisticated alarms went off. And every morning for 2 weeks, his alarms were triggered by something at 4:15 a.m. Outside scientists were brought in, but his alarm systems checked out. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing was ever disturbed except that the infrared sensors in the system had detected a strange heat source moving across them. The day the soil sample was removed from the house, the alarms mysteriously stopped.
We are asking now science to address this energy. What is it? Because up to now it hasn't existed as far as they're concerned. We know it exists, and science now knows it exists.
At a lab near Detroit, Michigan, samples obtained from the crop circles are being tested for any biophysical changes and compared with samples taken from the fields outside the circles by biophysicist Dr. Levengood.
Looked absolutely normal. They were filled out, and I fully expected to find a normal seed inside. But I was very surprised to note that instead of the normal seed, there was a condition that's known as polyembryony.
Further examination showed the seeds from the circles had been genetically altered. Normally, each seed contains 1 embryo. These contained multiple embryos, a very unusual condition.
Positioning of this black substance clearly indicates that the whatever caused this was something coming from above in the atmosphere and not from below. This is some of the glooms or little husks that were below the outside of a particular wheat kernel, and even they show this burning right at their tips. And this would indicate, because of this very localized charring, that this had to be a very rapid process.
Dr. Levengood's research has concluded that the energy creating crop circles is similar to microwave energy. There is evidence of charring and burning, but even more startling are the genetic alterations being found in the seeds. Recently, there have been numerous reports of bright flashes or glowing lights exactly in the areas where circles are discovered the next day. This fuels other forms of speculation.
In regards to it being extraterrestrial UFO involvement, we haven't ruled that out. It still could be a high chance. My opinion that this happened before. How it's done, we don't know. We have never yet seen a UFO hovering above a corn circle. We have had lights in the sky in the area of a crop circle, but we haven't connected the two yet. Give it time.
Following a report from 2 men driving their car south of Swindon on the night this particular formation occurred, they reported seeing a large bright orange flash of light near Rawton Airfield where this formation occurred, followed by a beam of light from above, the edges of which were rippling. On impact with the ground, a golden ball developed. The veil of light from above diminished, and the golden ball remained at ground level for a short time when it too faded away into the darkness. The whole experience, the whole event was repeated a few seconds later. This formation was discovered early the next morning at the point of impact with the golden ball.
A man had come over the hill in the night, this was, and he was the only car to be seen. His car was the only one to be seen, and he went straight by, and the next morning he returned to the spot where I was still doing some work on this particular formation that had fallen that night. And he came up physically agitated, and he said, "Where's the circle? Where's the circle?" And then he said, there it is, I've got it." And I said to him, "I was up here during the night." And he then said, "I saw a dome of light over this area when I came home last night at 2 o'clock. and he was too frightened to stop because he didn't know what it was.
Whilst I was making coffee, people were just sat around in the kitchen talking. A light came through the room. It appeared to come diagonally through the kitchen, which is a very long room. Was instantaneous, but was more like a beam than a flash. And we all saw it.
Finally, we obtained a British military film that captured this amazing phenomenon. In spite of expensive surveillance operations utilizing low-light cameras, infrared cameras, microwave detectors, specialized listening devices, and security equipment to eliminate human beings, these markings still arrived instantaneously without witnesses or clues. Visitors from the unknown will continue in a moment.
We are working with nuclear physicists in America, with plasma vortex experts in Great Britain, meteorologists, biologists, plant experts, soil experts, astronomers. Nobody but nobody at the moment can give us that breakthrough which we are looking for.
I've met people from all over the world, scientists, all trying to solve this mystery. My home life is non-existent, really, because I spend so much time and money trying to find the answer to the question I asked in '85. What is going on? Where is it all leading us to?
I'm putting my cards on the table because I believe that is where we have arrived. There's nothing left in the material world. We aren't going to find the answers in the material world. We're going to find it by opening up our minds.
I think this is something here which will lead us into the 21st century. This is the leader, if you like, now, because it's something physical, something everybody can see. They can't now say that the circles themselves do not exist.
Even if we find out what the energy is that creates these circles, I doubt if we'll ever find out what's behind them, because surely something is manipulating this energy to draw, like an artist would, configurations and patterns in the wheat fields. Something or someone wants to get our attention. Why, I don't know, but I hope someday to find out.
We do have here markings which smack of language. The whole phenomenon is beginning to smack of communication, and that could well be the biggest thing ever experienced on our planet.
We are nowhere near solving this mystery, but we are asking hundreds of questions. Have our orbiting satellites and space probes reached another civilization? Are these attempts by an alien culture to reply? Or are these messages from within? People of the ancient Hopi cultures become very emotional when they see these pictograms and insist they have meaning. They say Mother, that's the Earth, is in serious trouble, and she is crying out for help. One of the most recent complex pictograms startled observers with its resemblance to a Mandelbrot set, the application of a simple mathematical formula designed to quantify the theory of chaos. The implications are frightening. Whatever they are, wherever they came from, and how they are formed remains a mystery. Colin Andrews and many like him will not rest until the key is found to unlock this secret.
I am absolutely determined to communicate this to the people around the world, because it is bigger than any one person. This is bigger than all of us. We must understand what is happening here to our planet.
Visitors from the unknown will continue with the existence of life after death. The Battle of Britain shaped the beliefs of many a fine British lad, and Trevor Ford, a commander in the Royal Air Force, was no different in that respect.
My name is Trevor Ford.
This is my story, and it's real. Now, my story really begins when Hitler had taken over Europe. He had started, as you probably know, imprisoning the Jewish population, his own population. He was gassing them, and he was burning them. Now, my thoughts, and eventually those of my crew, were that those people were praying and praying for help, assistance, and they prayed and they prayed, and nothing happened.
Trevor Ford reached the rank of warrant commander. He was a leader who had developed a mutual respect and strong bond with his men.
I quit, Skip. You do nothing but win.
Well, good of you to concede defeat, Ray. Because I've just won all your cigarette money for the next 12 years.
Hey, you blokes think you can do better?
Ah, easy, Ray. Hey, where are you going?
For a walk.
Well, you can't.
Why not?
Oh, Ray, because we're on alert right now, and not only that, I think you could do with some cheering up.
Well, I think you've cheered me up enough for one night, thanks.
Hey, now, lads.
Ready. Happy birthday, Ray.
Hey, that IOU? It's scratched, all right?
All right.
All right.
It's my cake. I'll cut it.
Hey, Ray, before you do, well, me and the lads want you to know that we made this cake from our own heart and soul. So, take your chances.
Many of Trevor's best friends died in air battles over Europe, and he never stopped missing any of them, especially Ray. Seeing the horrors visited upon innocent people, Trevor came to the conclusion that there was no God watching, no heaven or hell or afterlife. Trevor's wife was a WAF at the time, which is the Women's Royal Air Force of today.
You are going to have to do something about that back pain of yours, Trevor.
Comes with age.
Nonsense. It comes with neglect.
Here we are.
I could use those biscuits. No, I'll just get behind the counter. Eve, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Have you been taken care of?
Yes, your daughter's helping me. Thank you very much. Well, Trevor, I see you're back, still acting up.
I guess everybody knows.
Why don't you come to the healing sessions at the church?
I suppose God does the healing, finds a time in his busy schedule.
Of course he does.
Don't get him started, Edith. Trevor thinks God ignored a lot of people who needed his help during the war.
We don't know how the world turns as it does.
Well, I certainly don't.
His wife, Cynthia, finally did convince Trevor to go to a healing service to see if he could get relief for his back pain.
Quite frankly, I'd rather have my teeth drilled.
Trevor, you promised.
Oh, I know I did, but the whole thing's so silly.
Come along, we're going to be late.
All right. Oh, all right, all right.
What was about to happen would change Trevor's life forever.
My description of what I do and how it is done is that I have 1 foot on the earth plane and 1 foot in the spirit world. So I am an in-between.
Your father says not to worry. Everything will be resolved in a fortnight. Be patient. Good news is coming. I have an airman in spirit here who insists that you haven't got your squadron tie on.
Me?
Yes.
She's right, it's my RAF tie.
He has several fellows with him. There's a tall fellow here. with curly blonde hair, and there are 9 more in the balcony, including a small man they all call the little bloke. They're laughing about the little bloke. They say he's a real grumbler and always has something to moan about. But they're very fond of him. They claim to know you. Does that mean anything to you?
I lost 10 good friends in the war.
They all have the same insignia on the shoulders of their uniform. It's an eagle in flight with its talons extended.
She's right. That's the 36th Squadron, my squadron. This is it's unbelievable.
The blonde fellow says the little bloke is an air gunner. He has a different insignia on his chest. It's a half wing and a crown and bold letters AG surrounded by a brown leaf cluster. I'm hearing airplanes. They sound different, unlike the ones at the airport.
Prop plane?
Yes, that's right, prop planes.
That's what we flew. That's what we flew. I can't hear.
The blonde fellow says it's a fly past. Do you know what that is?
Yes. Salute.
Well,
I don't know what to think.
thank you for coming.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Not at all, not at all, thank you.
Oh, wait. You mustn't go yet.
What?
Please stay.
Stay? What for?
The airmen haven't gone. They're lined up on the stairs.
What do they want?
Filing out now and saluting you. And the little bloke is still here. He wants your attention. He wants to make sure that you recognize him.
And the last one to leave came back and said, "Goodbye, Skip." And I knew I hadn't been called that for 45 years. And I knew that was Ray.
And these are pictures of Trevor from before the war. It's the Isle of Man. He summered there so often with his family.
He looked very handsome in his uniform.
Yes, he was, wasn't he?
Now.
We came back to my house and looked at my photographs.
That's me.
Oh, yes. And that's the little bloke I saw, whom you called Ray.
She's right. That's him. That's Ray.
My understanding of what it is like when you pass from this phase of existence to the other phase of existence, which is generally known as the spirit world, is, to those who understand the continuation of life, is just like walking through a door, because all you do is shed your earthly body as an old overcoat that you no longer need, and the real you that no longer needs the physical body goes on to another vibration to live in another phase of existence where a physical body is no longer needed, but the personality, the person as they are, still exists as they are.
I was absolutely stunned, elated, couldn't really believe what I'd heard, but I knew it to be true. So, from being what would normally be a confirmed atheist, the circle had turned, that I knew now that somebody who'd gone on could come back from beyond and be with me and my family. Which means, of course, there is life after death.
This experience changed Trevor's beliefs and attitudes about life and life after death. Even his back condition improved. Peggy Goodwin introduced him to visitors from the unknown, and Trevor discovered peace of mind he had never known before. Visitors from the unknown will continue with proof of UFOs. Meet Jean-Jacques Velasco, a recognized scholar in the study of optics and an engineer at the prestigious National Center for Space Research, which is the equivalent of NASA in the United States. He is in charge of SEPRA, the organization which investigates atmospheric phenomena and UFOs for the French government.
These only have eyewitness accounts. They have no other corroboration.
May I ask you a question?
Of course.
Do you believe any of this?
No.
But we've had hundreds of reported sightings.
All atmospheric phenomena explained by natural causes.
So why do we continue?
If we are to be taken seriously, our efforts must use rigorous scientific methods, even if we never come up with anything.
So all this could be an exercise in futility.
Yes, that's right.
Velasco, a scientist who needs hard evidence to be convinced, had seen nothing to confirm the existence of UFOs. In the countryside of Trans-en-Provence, Renato Nicolai was about to have an experience that would give Velasco the evidence he was waiting for.
That day, it was about 5 o'clock in the evening. I was working in the fields when I saw a strange object. I tried to get closer. I was about 30 meters from it when I saw it. Only when it took off, 30 or 40 seconds later, could I really notice its shape and form.
Renato brought his neighbors to the site. Naturally, they were skeptical.
Say a doctor. I know what I saw. See? What did do that?
We should call the police.
saw it, he should call the police.
You should, Renato.
And how large was it?
It's not big, maybe 3 meters across, 1.5 meters high.
I see. Have you ever seen anything like this before, sir?
Never.
And you are perhaps interested in UFO?
Ma, what are you, crazy? Ma, it just landed, it killed my onions, and it left. So I call you, that's all, okay?
Of course. Thank you, sir. Well, the witness appears legitimate.
Look at the ground.
Yes. After we have taken our samples, no one touches anything until the government space research team gets here.
Let's remove all the variables. I want a psychological examination of the witness and a team to investigate the possibility of a hoax.
Yes, sir. We sent the soil samples to the lab at the University of Toulouse.
And what about the lab at Port?
They got the samples yesterday. Oh, and the good news, we have the same team who worked on the lunar samples examining them.
Good. What about vegetation samples?
We sent those and some soil samples to the National Institute for Agricultural Research.
Who's handling it?
Michel Bunias.
Very good. Get him on the phone.
Meet Michel Bunias. He holds advanced degrees in engineering, biochemistry, and statistics. He is a director of research and a university professor. He has contributed to an estimated 200 scientific articles in over 50 international journals. He has written 4 books and received numerous honors and awards, including laureates from the Academy of Sciences and the Biological Society.
Michel Bunias, s'il vous plaît.
Michel Bunias. Hello, Michel. This is Jean-Jacques Velasco.
Ah, comment ça va?
Ça va bien. What have you got?
Well, I'm getting some unusual results. I want to investigate this further. I'll go down there myself tomorrow to take some samples.
Come see me when you are finished.
Yes, of course.
Au revoir.
Professor Bunias and his assistants flew to Aix-en-Provence to obtain soil and plant samples.
It is probably the first time that after a very well characterized event concerning a UFO, there was a full scientific study showing that some changes were brought to the plants near the place where the UFO landed, and that these biochemical changes were decreasing with increasing distances from the trace, so that all the findings, the biochemical findings, could be put into equations and be mathematically characterized in a very accurate way. Then, these findings were compared with the same result obtained several years later, so that these controls led us to realize that on the same area, 2 years after the event, all the findings, all the things were recovering a normal shape, a normal pattern of biochemical characteristics.
Following procedure, a psychologist was sent to interview Renato Nicolai to determine if he was a reliable witness.
And we say, let's get far.
Nicolai, as always, was extremely honest and very down to earth.
So, you found no variations from his testimony?
No, none. He just saw what he saw. He doesn't appear to be the kind of man who would make something like this up.
You have no doubt?
Oh, in my professional opinion, none whatsoever. He seems quite unaffected by any of it. I was just a bit annoyed at all the attention.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Velasco continued to coordinate the research. The lab at Toulouse was used, as well as the one at the Institute for the National Research of Agriculture. In all, it was an exhaustive scientific undertaking, both in the lab and in the field. Velasco realized from the evidence obtained from Buñas that this case was extraordinary and could not be dismissed as a hoax. He continued to examine all possibilities. Buñas had checked with the military and had been assured that no military prototypes had been in the area.
With an electromagnetic force. Is there any chance of a hoax? Could someone duplicate the effect by other means?
No one knew what soil samples I would take, what tests I would run. There were no samples of herbicide in the soil, no traces of anything man-made. If someone wanted to create this, they would need more years of study than you and I have together. And they'd also have to have a greater knowledge of toxic compounds than exist anywhere.
You're still not sure, are you? I'm a scientist.
The lab results were astounding. Based on the way the ground was impacted, whatever had landed that day in Renato's garden weighed 3.5 to 5 tons and had heated the soil to an extreme temperature of 1100 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it's now possible to say that in time and in distance, all the biochemical findings are consistent with the description given by the witness. And it is probably the first time in the world, to my knowledge, that such a complete set of data has been obtained on such cases of UFO landing.
When I realized that a strange thing had happened, I went back to the place to look again and again. I was trying to understand if it had been a hallucination or if it was real. I had not hallucinated because the ground was burnt. There was an imprint, and the imprint was examined by the police. The next day, they came and made a report. Then some scientists came to obtain soil samples, and in effect, they admitted that something had happened in that spot. In effect, we were in the presence of an unidentified phenomenon, which had been witnessed and that had left traces in the soil and surrounding environment. In conclusion, after the case in Aix-en-Provence, one cannot have the same perception about the UFO phenomenon. For one can no longer debate whether or not it exists. One cannot say, do you believe in UFOs or don't you believe in UFOs? For now we are aware of phenomena which we cannot control.
The stringent scientific government investigation has continued for the past 10 years. The results are now being published, all of which conclude that the evidence is consistent with what Renato Nicolai saw and cannot be explained by other natural causes. In other words, a UFO did land in Aix-en-Provence.
My name is Renato Nicolai. This was my story, and it is real.